Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Black Monday. Coaches getting fired left and right in the NFL. Also, New Year's Eve, coincidentally. So, happy New Year's to everybody going out tonight. Be safe. Do you have something to say, Matt?
Yeah, I forgot to tell you before we got on air, and it's important. So a lot of talk last night that McCarthy was becoming a leader in the Browns clubhouse, and then this morning it comes out that Arizona is getting rid of their coach Steve Wilks, and they are prepared to offer him full head coach and GM responsibilities, and I need that to happen.
Yeah, good luck to whoever hires him. He is not adjusted to the new NFL. And that's about the most as I can say right there. But we're here to talk basketball, guys. And again, for all of you going out tonight to celebrate, stay safe, be wise. That's the dad half of me coming in. I know some of you are older than me, so you could probably tell me the same thing. But just be careful because it's a night of debauchery.
Yeah, and be careful. Watch out for the people around you driving. It's not necessarily you being impaired to drive. It's the people around you. So just be aware.
Definitely. All right, guys. So the Christmas sale is still going. I'm going to keep it going for a couple days still, just because I know a lot of people haven't been around for the holidays. I'm behind on some catch-up work as well. So for the time being, for the next couple days still, rebates for monthly, annual, and lifetime customers. And again, you guys know the whole deal. If you want new videos from this channel, subscribe. Appreciate the thumbs up. Blah, 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 blah. Let's get into it. I don't know about you, Matt. Actually, I do know about you. I don't know about the rest of you. Not a huge fan of this slate personally, at least not early in the day. We got things like Alfred Payton coming back tonight for the Pelicans. We got guys like Devin Booker, which to me, I like this Golden State Phoenix game to have some potential, but I don't know what to make of it until I know if Devin Booker's in. But to start with, the one guy I feel like pretty safe about is Kevon Looney. He's priced at 3,700. You're looking for about 20 points out of him at least. Lately he averages about 25 minutes and 21 points. What do I expect from tonight? I expect him to play about 25 minutes and give you about 18 to 28 points. There's nothing sexy here. This isn't going to win you GPPs. It's not going to be the reason your cash lineup wins, but it's going to be a building block. We were talking about double studding potentially before we got on here. I do think that is an option tonight, and you're going to need a guy like a Kevon Looney to offset the salary of an Anthony Davis, of a Russ Westbrook, of a James Harden, for example. Plus, he's a big guy against the Suns, who do have a tendency to eat.
Well, I think that's the main point right there. So I don't love Looney, but I like him about as much as I can like Looney. And honestly, I know he doesn't do it often, but I could easily see him getting 30 plus DK points tonight. Similar, I know this other guy has been playing better recently in Thomas Bryant, but we saw him, kind of play up when the matchup was really good against teams like the Suns. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the same thing from Looney here. I think the floor is rocks out at 20, and I think there's 30 plus upside here.
Yeah, and again, if he has a bad game, he gets you 14, but it lets you get your other guys. You can probably still win with that.
That's a great point. You're not, we talked about it, and I just said it. Looney has 30-point upside, and he does, but you're not rostering Looney per se and guys in that price range because you think they're going to get 10 times value. You're rostering them because you think they'll be fine, and the guys that you really want to play, you can now afford.
Yeah, because you want to roster Westbrook, Harden, or Anthony Davis, or two of them.
Exactly.
All right, next up, speaking of Westbrook, this was a guy that you were calling out this morning. And while I'm not normally in the mood for going for a guy in a back-to-back, I did really enjoy the last point that you brought up.
So we'll get there in a second. So I know that he had a rough game last night and he didn't even score double digits despite shooting 20 times, but he still almost walked into 50 DK points. And I know on this price you don't want that. There's something to be said for a guy who had one of the worst games of the year, and he almost walked into 50 DK.
And I want a side note on that. This guy is a theft artist of the highest degree lately. He is getting steals left and right. He's averaging almost 3 steals a game, and lately he's averaging more than that.
And that has everything to do with the last point and how he's not playing well offensively. He made the point a couple times, not only to take the blame for the loss and to take the blame for the past month and how he's been playing, but he's made it clear that despite not playing as well offensively as he wants, he's making an impact in every other part of the game, and he will continue to do that. So I love him for all those reasons, but I also think he does all he can to get to the hole at will tonight.
Yeah, I tend to have a tendency to agree with that. And we're looking at, is it like a GPP pivot off of James Harden, who I'm assuming will be just chalky again because he has been a lot lately. No Chris Paul, no Eric Gordon tonight. I'm sure Harden's going to shoot this is weird to say, but if you gave me an over-under on the number of three-pointers James Harden took tonight, I'd probably bet the over 14.
Yeah, so right now, especially if Harden were in a better matchup, it'd be insanely hard to get away from him, like we talked about, under 12K. And And if I had to pick one of them, to bet Maisie's life on who was going to outscore who, it would have to be Harden right now. But as you always say, and the point you kind of made to me in baseball, the difference is probably not going to be what the ownership is.
Exactly. And then what we're talking about that is if Harden is 5 times more owned, I don't think he's 5 times more likely to have the higher DK point total because Memphis is a bad matchup. They are slow. Both of these teams could play slow. Harden could be effective tonight, but still not walk into major DFS points as these two teams, they could play one of the slower games of the year.
Yeah, and I know that, no Eric Gordon, he's going to have high usage, but now they're really losing pieces around him. We'll touch on this more in members only, but, it's hard to say Harden won't get 60 here, but I would be actually surprised if he had like an 80-point game here.
Yeah, it's going to be tough with the proposed game pacing here. And with no Eric Gordon and no Chris Paul, I mean, Houston knows that James Harden has to do everything. Memphis has no issue slowing the game down. So it could be one of those days where he could be efficient, but still not wind up with major points. Like when we say major points, like you said, you're talking 75, 80. If you told me to bet the over-under on 60 points with Harden, I'm going to go with the over. Why? Because that's all that he's done recently.
He's getting 60 right now. It's just what it is. And that's why you just can make the case that no matter what, even in this matchup, you can play him in all formats because he should be 12K. Again, we'll get into that more on members only.
Next up, so TJ Warren. I brought up earlier in the today that I don't like this slate. I don't really have, like some nights, you might have like 15, 16, 25, what you would call it A plays. And you're just trying to figure out who your favorites are. I don't have a single A play today. Not one guy where I'm like, this is a lock. This is a guy I feel great about. Like I'm looking at a guy like a TJ Warren. I view him as maybe like a B minus type of play today, which is not, there's a lot of slates where B plays don't even get onto your roster. But I don't have A plays today. So Booker in, Booker out. There's pros and cons to each situation. If Booker is in, I think this game is going to be competitive. Phoenix is not as bad when Devin Booker plays. Booker out, well, then TJ Warren gets a major bump in usage. So there's pros and cons to each situation. Warren balled against Golden State earlier this year. I think he put up 27 real-life points. And if you look through the TJ Warren game log and you throw out that tail end back-to-back after triple OT where you wouldn't expect anybody to play well, and then he had a weird day the other day against OKC where there's just no counting stats. Those happen every once in a while. Outside of that, just a very consistent play. What do I expect out of him tonight? About 28 to 38 points, depending on how well he plays. Nothing that's going to win you GPPs, but hopefully nothing that's going to lose you cash games either.
Yeah, so I agree with all those points. And the third bullet point is what really gets me here. Just because while I'd rather have Booker in, because the point that the game could easily get away from Phoenix quick if he's out, there's definitely pros to Booker being out too, because Warren is head and shoulders their best player at that point.
Aiton's pretty good lately, so I don't know about the head and shoulders.
I always forget about him when we're doing these shows. So, yeah, Ayton is pretty good recently. So I don't want to say him and Ayton are overwhelmingly their best two players after Booker.
Yes, no question.
So I think, like you said, and I don't think it's a situation where it's like it's almost like I look at it's a half glass full type thing for me. While I'd rather have him be in, like you said, he's more than playable with Booker out just because of, again, all the reasons we've said. So beating this one.
Football comparison to yesterday. Like a lot of people went in Juju when AB was ruled out, and I played Juju as well. But at the same time, there was part of me thinking like the Pittsburgh Steelers might struggle today to put up points with no AB, and that could limit what Juju does. So there are positives and negatives to each side.
Definitely.
All right. Again, I cannot crack up enough. I love all the memes going around about Draymond shooting with the backpack on because his shot is so ugly. So I just keep laughing. For those of you watching and not listening, I got a picture down in the right-hand corner. And I'll say my bad on him the other day. He was legitimately awful against Portland as far as point scoring. He was really unaggressive from the offensive side of it. And we've seen that from him plenty lately. That being said, this is one of your GPP calls for tonight, and I can completely get on board here.
Yeah, what's weird is he's like a GPP play now at this price because we're seeing a kind of roller coaster with him. We go back to the Looney points with Draymond. Golden State doesn't have, a typical big man. Looney's inside, and I think he plays really well tonight, but, he's not like a DeAndre Ayton or that type. I think we see Draymond in the mix inside, outside. This is a really good get-right spot for him. Aside from the last game, he had been playing well. He's hit GPP upside in 3 of 5, I believe. I know downside in a couple of those, but I would be surprised if he didn't, hit some sort of floor here like we expect, at least in the 30s with 40 upside here.
So what's funny about this one is we just talked about Devin Booker playing tonight and how there was pros and cons in regard to TJ Warren. For Draymond, I want Booker in this game if I want to roster him, and that's because I want it to be competitive. If Booker is in this game, I could see the pace here. Like sometimes you try to think like, how will these teams play off of one another? And if the offense is rolling, which, Phoenix needs Booker in there for their offense to roll, I could see this game turning into a little less defensive oriented and more up and down the court. And I want Devin Booker to play to help Draymond, because that to me makes it significantly better odds of this being a competitive high scoring game.
Yeah, Booker in really makes a difference for the Warriors pieces here. Obviously, some are in play no matter what, but ideally, if you're using a bunch of Warriors and they are in a great spot here, you need this game to be close.
Side note, off of DFS and just off the NBA in real life right now, is Golden State, have we seen the end of them? Because I think most of us believe that there's going to be a piece or two gone at the end of the season. They have not been themselves all year, and I know they've had injuries, and it's going to take more than this for me to personally jump off of Golden State. Ultimately, I feel when the playoffs come, they're going to flip the switch and still be the best team in basketball. But do you have any cause for concern? Because they have not been themselves this year.
Cause for concern, sure, but I guess at the end of the day, like, who's going to beat them in a series still?
Agreed. I mean, I have a lot of trouble getting away from them.
I think the point, and you've kind of alluded to it there, is they're no longer some mythical, can't be beaten type of team. And I do think it's like we're coming to the end of the line.
Okay. And during the regular season, you get everybody's best performance. I do struggle to see them losing to anybody in a 7-game series. But, we talked about Oklahoma City. If they continue to get better and get right and guys are healthy, together, playing together for longer periods of time, they make a trade at the deadline. Like if OKC got one more piece, and they don't have a lot of trade bait out there, but another guy who could play a little offense and defense, I feel like they could really give them a run for their money.
Agreed. They're like the one team that I think could beat them and has a legit chance to beat them for a couple reasons. One, they've got a player and maybe two players who are on the same superstar level as the top two for Golden State. They might have, you can argue that they have the best player of the bunch in Westbrook, which you can't say on most teams. Again, I just said it, but the way Paul George is playing this year, he's right in that group. And we also both love Steven Adams. They've improved their depth a ton by getting Schroeder and with the emergence of Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, if they had one more piece in there, I really liked the idea of Trevor Ariza being on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I thought he would have been like a perfect piece to add there. Obviously, that's not happening, but there's ways that they could be better. And then if you look over in the East, I don't poo-poo the fact that I think the Bucks, Raptors, and Celtics could all be competitive with them in a 7-game series. That being said, if they go 16-0 in the playoffs this year, it wouldn't shock me one bit.
Yeah, all those three teams will be competitive with them, but none of them have a real chance right now, in my opinion, to beat them, just because new territory for all those teams. Let's just say I would be surprised if any of those teams won. Again, they're all extremely talented, though, so I get your point.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Right now, if you told me Golden State or the field, I'm still betting on Golden State. You got to show me some team coming into the playoffs and really doing it before I think I could ever bet against them. For me, the big thing is what happens when Boogie comes back? Does this make them better? Does this make them worse? Does it mess with their flow? Or is adding another, MVP talent-wise type caliber player just make them absolutely invincible? I'll be curious to watch it.
Yeah, I agree with that point. The West is also – really deep, matter of fact, this year. Teams at the bottom are crawling up. So, yeah, like you said, the Warriors take everyone's best shot. Even a game like in Phoenix tonight, yeah, Golden State's a double-digit favorite for a reason. But we both think that if Booker plays, why couldn't this game be competitive?
Right? I mean, Phoenix is not that bad when Booker plays. They're not a good team, don't get me wrong. But I like the nucleus of Warren, Booker, and Ayton. I think there is reason to be excited in Phoenix for a couple years down the road.
Yeah, it's like like the Kings are better this year than Phoenix, but I would probably rather have Phoenix's young core. It's very close, but they're both like awesome.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a safe and exciting New Year's. Don't get me wrong. I said stay safe, but go have a ball as well. Drink a little bit too much. See your friends and family and whatever it is you do and enjoy yourself.
Thanks, guys.